Today we're going to be talking about sales processes. Sales processes, not to be confused with contact processes. You can create a contact process that runs against a contact or many contact records that do a series of activities on the contact. A sales process is ran only on the opportunity and consists of a series of steps to walk through in order for you to bring your opportunities through fruition to closing won or closing lost, either way. So let's look at them first before we go and look at how to build them. So I've opened up my web client here, and I'm currently on an opportunity for this ABI specialty, as you see on the top of the screen here. And then if I look down to the bottom of the screen, I have all my different tabs for this opportunity. One of them is Sales Process. If you don't have a tab, it may be listed underneath the More tabs here. So under Sales Process itself, if I scroll down a little bit so we see more of that sales process, on this opportunity they had chosen the New Technology Large Business Sales Process. When they did that, it filled in the stages and steps down below here, as you see, and there's several different stages and steps in this one. Let me see, we've got 6 different stages, and each step has a varying amount of steps. Here we see 3 steps, 3 steps, 4 steps, and 4 steps here. So as we start to work through that process, the first step in the first stage, so we have stage 1 here, prospect, with the first step being research. Now you can see that that's a hyperlink, and there's a description of what that is. It's actually a to-do. And this has already been completed because they've checked the box. But if I wanted to redo this step, I can click on Research. When I do that, it pops up a to-do box, and in there it tells me what I'm supposed to be doing for this to-do, and I could set a date and time. Well, not actually a time. They've got it set as timeless. I could make it not timeless if I wanted to, but I can set a date with that to research for that project. When I click on OK, then that just scheduled that underneath my activities for 7/31, the date that was listed on there. So once that is done, then I would come in and check the first box there just by clicking on it. You'll notice that on the sales process here, that has an asterisk in front of it. That asterisk signifies to me that that is a required step. And this specific step was done on 5/4 of 15. Then they went on to the next step, the initial call, and that initial call was actually a phone call that got scheduled. Also a required step, and they checked that box. Then they moved on to stage 2. Stage 2 is qualification here and moves the percentage of this opportunity to 10%. If we scroll back to the top of the screen here, you see the probability is currently set at 10%, which is that stage 2 value. So depending on how you set up your process, you can choose whether to have that probability move along by itself or if you want to do that manually. And we'll see that when we look at how to set up the stages and steps. So if I scroll back down here to the process again, as we continue on, you'll see that there's some of these with the asterisks in front of them. Some of them do not have the asterisks in front of them. So if they do not have the asterisks in front of them, you can complete them just by checking them without actually having to do the step itself. So if you do not have an asterisk in front of them, you do not have to complete the step. You can move on to the next one with the asterisk if you don't need to do that step. So these are all the steps and stages, 6 stages, different steps in each one for this process. Now, midway through it, if I needed to change that process, I could change that. I can choose another process here. When I do that, it tells me that there's steps in the process that have already been completed. Do I still want to change to the small business technology process? If I say yes there, it's going to choose the new process here, and you notice it cleared everything out. Now I can start out on my new process at the first stage, at the first step, and continue on here. So it does allow you to change. Make sure you know what you're doing when you do that, because you're going to lose. You just lost all your steps that were completed from the other process when you change to the new process. Okay, so now let me go over to, and I've got my instance open here, and I opened up my Architect program. Now this is not the application Architect for the web, but this is the old-fashioned Architect that they're still using for many different features, but one of them being the sales processes. So to access sales processes in the Architect, I would just go to Manage, and there's an option there for sales processes. When I open that sales processes window, it shows me all the processes that are available to me. Here we also see that small business technology process that we were using, the large business, the global national technology upgrade. For each one of those processes, there's a type, like a family, whether it's an add-on or a new process, and then they have the update opportunity percentage. So let me edit this first one here. You'll see here for the technology upgrade, it's in the family add-on, and the probability, update opportunity probability is marked as yes. So as we move through that process, once it's released to individuals, it will automatically move the probability from 0 to 10 to 20 to 30%, all the way through until 100% when we've completed that process. If we just choose no there, then we would manually set the percentage as we move on through. It shows that it was created by the administrator here, and when we save that with any changes we made to it, and then we'd also release that to either individuals or to everyone if you want everyone in the company to have access to that. So staying on that technology upgrade, if I look down below, I have, again, 6 different stages in there: prospect, qualification, needs analysis, demonstration, negotiation, and then decision. You may have noticed as I highlighted each one of these, down in the bottom of the screen, it showed different steps. Now, they don't have any steps in there for prospects, but if I move to qualification, then they have 3 steps in there: a discovery phone call, a discovery meeting. Let me pull that up a little bit for you. Discovery meeting, which is an action of meeting, and a thank you email, which is a mail merge. Now, to add additional steps here, we've got the add, edit, and delete buttons over on the right-hand side of the screen. If I click on add, it brings up the add new sales process step dialog box. This is where I would first of all name my step, as they did in the background here: discovery phone call, thank you email, whatever it is. Give a brief description of it. Over on the right here, you see there's a checkbox for whether this is a required step or not. That's what gives you the little asterisk that we saw out on the actual sales process. Then we can choose the action that we're going to have this step do. Now, we do not have to have an action. You can leave it blank and not have any action at all, but these are the different actions we can have. We can have mail merges, we can run basic scripts, we can have it open a form, we can have it schedule a phone call, a to-do, or a meeting. We can also have it schedule a literature request. We can have it actually link over to a contact process and assign a contact process from our sales process. We can have it activate the activity notepad or put in some custom programming there that we want this process to do. Probably the major ones you're going to be using is the schedule phone call, meeting, to do, literature request, maybe the activity notepad, and maybe mail merge. Those will be the standard ones you're using. But like, let's take, for instance, a meeting. I'll say meeting. When I do that, you see that it brings me up the meeting dialog box. So we can fill that all out there as to why the salesperson is going to be meeting with this client. We can put a note in there ahead of time, say, this is your demonstration meeting. This is where you should set up with the customer on demonstrating the product. So they know why they're having this step. And then, of course, name the step in the top here appropriately, like demonstration meeting. Give the same description. And then you don't necessarily have to set up a time. You can have it, if we do not check this box for automatically schedule, it'll just pop this box up for the user when they choose to schedule that meeting, and then they can set up their own date and time, which is pretty obvious that they would have to do for any meetings that you're going to put on your calendar. We can't create a process and always say it's going to be in the next 2 days or tomorrow or whatever. And then, of course, they can set their priority category, schedule for what user, and then they've got that notes again with the regarding field. So, and once you click on OK, then that would add that step. You see mine is added as a new 4th step here. I will delete that one. We can also copy any of these steps. We have a copy over on the right-hand side, or delete any of these steps. So, but majorly, these are just some test ones out there, so they might be good. I'll save that. They might be good for you to go through and look at the different stages and steps within each one to kind of give you an idea of what you could be using for your company. So once we've created our whole process, and we've released that process with the release button up at the top of the screen here, then that would be available to everyone back in the web client. Now let me go back to the web client once. One other thing that we can do here is in our tools, I'm logged in as admin here, so I'm going to go up to Tools and Options. Now this has to be done per user. It's not a global setting, it's a per user setting. So in here, under Options, I went to my Opportunities tab, and in the Opportunities tab, we've got a default sales process that we can set up. So every time we go in and create a new opportunity, it's automatically going to add the new technology global national accounts sales process to those opportunities. So you can set up a default here. I'm just going to click on Save, and let's go back out. I'm going to go back out to Accounts, actually, and we'll create a new opportunity. Let me just grab a company here, and we're on Advising Group Company now, so I'm going to go up to the New menu and choose New Opportunity. Brings up the Insert Opportunity screen. Fill out any of my required fields up here. I'll put a type in there of new, choose a lead source here. We won't set a probability at all at this point. And I'm just going to go ahead and click on Save. Now it'll save that opportunity and bring me to the Opportunity Detail view to show me the details of that opportunity. And if I look down underneath my sales processes, you see that it did automatically add the new technology global national accounts sales process. So that's exactly what I wanted it to do. So if you want to set that up for each user or have each user set it up, you could write them down to instructions on how to go into the Tools and Options and find that Opportunity tab and set their default process in there. Makes it much easier than if there's one standard process they're using, that it's located on every opportunity without them having to choose it themselves. Of course, once they're using these different sales processes, you could create groups or run reports off the different stages and steps that you have within those opportunities. It's made just to be consistent with your sales processes and to ensure that all your sales reps go through all the necessary steps in the sales process to close the deal and hopefully close and win those deals. And of course, when they do close and win them, they'd come up here and close, choose the status, closed and won or closed and lost. And when they do that, they put in the actual amount that they have closed the deal for and the reason they won that deal and any specific comments they have there. We can also choose if there was a competitor replaced on this opportunity when the deal is closed or when the opportunity is closed. Go ahead and click on OK, and that closes that opportunity. So sales processes, I think they're a good tool to use for everyone, but specifically they're good to use for new sales reps for them to use the sales process that you're using in your business. If you have any further questions on sales processes, certainly would like to have you post them, and we'll get back to you as soon as possible. We've also recorded this, so you'll be able to see this again shortly out on the Customer Effects website. I want to thank you all for joining me this afternoon, and have a great day.